The old house on Elm Street had been vacant for 20 years. Its once white walls now wore the grime of neglect and time. But it was not just the physical state that made this place unsettling, it was the memories that lingered within its crumbling walls. It started with a letter, addressed to Emily Wilson, which arrived at her doorstep on a typical Wednesday morning in April 2023. The return address read Ravenwood Manor, an estate she had never heard of before. As she opened the envelope and pulled out the contents, a chill ran down her spine. Inside was a single sheet of paper with a handwritten note that made no sense to her. "Dear Emily, I know what you did." At first, Emily thought it must be some prank or mistake from an overzealous mail carrier. But as she read on, the words seemed to seep into her mind like a cold mist. The handwriting was unmistakable. It belonged to James Wilson, her father, who had passed away when she was just 8 years old. As the days went by, Emily found herself becoming increasingly unsettled. She began to experience vivid nightmares and recurring flashbacks of events that seemed too real for comfort. It started with small things, a misplaced book on the shelf, an unfamiliar scent in the kitchen, but soon escalated into full-blown anxiety attacks. The letter had awakened something within her, something she thought was long buried. The postman trudged up the path to our house on that drizzly autumn afternoon. It was an unusual day for mail delivery, but he had a package to deliver nonetheless. As I watched him approach, my heart sank with anticipation. He handed me the envelope and said, "This one's special." The return address read, "For Emily Wilson," in elegant script. My name is not Emily, yet somehow this letter was addressed to me. A shiver ran down my spine as he asked if I'd like a stamp for it. It seemed an odd request. I opened the envelope and pulled out the letter inside. As I began to read, memories long buried resurfaced: laughter with friends at school, family vacations by the lake, summers spent playing in our backyard until dusk. The words were familiar yet foreign. They belonged to someone else's life. A chill crept up my spine as I realized that this was not a letter from anyone I knew. The postman had left before I finished reading it, but his parting words still lingered: "It'll be 20 years late." Suddenly the memories flooding back made sense. They were mine, yet somehow not. The realization dawned on me like a cold mist that seeped into my bones: this letter was from someone who had lived in my life before I did. A shiver ran down my spine as I realized that our lives weren't as separate as I thought. Emily had always been fascinated by the old Victorian house on Elm Street. As a child, she would spend hours exploring its dusty rooms and imagining what life must have been like for the family who once lived there. The house was abandoned now, but Emily's curiosity never waned. One day, while rummaging through the attic, Emily stumbled upon an old trunk with her name on it. She opened it to find a stack of letters addressed to her 20 years ago. Confused and intrigued, she began reading them. As she read each letter, Emily felt a chill run down her spine. The first few letters were from her parents, telling her about their love for her and the plans they had made for her future. But as the letters progressed, the tone became increasingly dark and sinister. Her mother wrote about how much she hated Emily's father, and how she was glad he would be gone soon. The final letter was a simple message from an unknown sender: "I will always love you." Emily felt like she had been punched in the gut. Who could have written these letters? And why now, 20 years later? She tried to shake off the feeling of unease and continued reading, but as she did, she began to notice strange things happening around her: doors creaking open on their own, shadows moving across walls.